So today's video is something a little bit different from what we normally do, because usually we try to, have a lot of different shots and a lot of editing and fancy stuff, but kind of reacting right now to the fact that as we speak, the Game Awards are going on behind me, and they just announced the Xbox Series X, the new next generation Xbox that'll be coming out next holiday, 2020. So let's go ahead and unpack what exactly has gone on with this announcement. So they did this whole big crazy hype up trailer that revealed the actual look of the system, which honestly is very surprising. In the past, a lot of times we wait quite a while to get reveals of systems. I mean, the Xbox One X got officially revealed not too long before its full release, and here, a full year in advance, we know what the next Xbox looks like. And as far as design goes, it's certainly interesting. It's a different approach from what they did with the Xbox One S and One X, which were very sort of slimline, smaller systems, and instead has gone in the direction of embracing, honestly, a very PC-style approach to the aesthetics of a system. It's a tower design. Now, to be fair, past Xbox consoles have been able to be in tower mode before, but I have always personally felt like that was the alternate option, and a lot of people would prefer having them sideways, but in the case of this one, they have said that it will still support sideways or tower mode as you prefer, but it absolutely looks like it belongs in tower mode. It's a considerably beefier looking Xbox system with the Xbox logo power button at the top, a sideways disc tray on the bottom, and it just straight up looks like a PC tower. But definitely an interesting, very monolithic one. Now, alongside with this reveal, there was a follow-up article that went a little more in depth on what exactly is going on with the Series X, and also during the Game Awards themselves, Phil Spencer came on stage and delivered some of the lines that are actually in the article as well. Some of it is retreading things we already knew about the next system, some of the promises regarding what kind of performance it's going to be capable of, for instance, saying that the target is to have 4K 60 as far as how games are going to play. That's 4K resolution with 60 FPS. There is some further in depth that kind of specifies that while that's the target goal, it will be capable of supporting things like 120 FPS for some games, probably not with 4K at the same time, and in the opposite direction, being capable of 8K. Again, that probably doesn't mean there's going to be 8K 60 FPS, but honestly, 8K 30 is still a insane sounding proposition. Along with these kind of target points they've talked about before, there were some additional features they went over, such as the concept of it supporting variable refresh rate, and I think something even more interesting is this idea of investing in more software and technologies to support having the lowest input latency possible. Because while you might feel like you're in direct control of a game, you actually end up having kind of slightly sloppy inputs because when you hit a button, it's not immediately happening on screen. There's an input delay going on. So supposedly, the Series X is going to make use of new technology that is going to cut that down to the lowest amount of latency possible. Now, this was not the only thing revealed. Along with the Series X was also the reveal of the Series X controller, which honestly does look very much like an Xbox One controller, but with a few very important differences to note. First off, while it looks similar, there is, I think, a reaction some people might get where it looks almost a little off, and that's because they have adjusted the stick and button placement ever so slightly for what they say is going to be a more ergonomic, comfortable form of control. So when you see it, it almost kind of looks like an off-brand Xbox One controller because it is so much that same kind of basic design, but again, everything is just lightly shuffled around a little bit. A more interesting change along with that, though, is that the new controller completely embraces the faceted D-pad. Now, if you don't know what that is, when Microsoft released the Elite controller, it had a standard D-pad like you have on an Xbox One controller, but another option is a faceted D-pad that's almost more like a dish-like shape. And honestly, I found that to be a lot more comfortable for a lot of games, especially if I had to do something like, say, a fighting game with a lot of rolling inputs. The faceted D-pad ended up being a lot better for that. And so they're now embracing that as the go-to standard for the Series X controller. So as far as performance things go, that is kind of the main focus they had in their announcement. However, there was also a little bit of extra grandstanding talking about sort of their vision for the system and what their goals with it are, and something I think is really important they dwelled on was this concept of compatibility. For instance, if you look at that Series X controller and you think that D-pad is really weird looking, or you think that the placement of the sticks and buttons isn't quite where you would like it to be and you would much rather just stick with an Xbox One controller, well, good news for you, because like they mentioned back at E3, the Series X will be completely backwards compatible with everything from the Xbox One. Your controllers, your games, I'm sure all major Xbox One accessories are going to work with the Series X. You do not have to start over fresh and buy a whole bunch of new stuff. But what's really interesting to me from the article, though, is how it's talking about the idea of forward compatibility. The idea that from now on, there is a promise from Xbox that all the games they work on, all the games that are going on their systems, will always be ensured that they are going to work with all future stuff coming out. Something that's been kind of a big issue going on right now with a lot of games that Microsoft has been working towards is the idea of making sure that all the old stuff that you love can still work. Thus, all the backwards compatibility focus, where a large number of Xbox 360 games have been made backwards compatible, and even going all the way back to the original Xbox on their system. So the idea is that every game that has been released on the Xbox One and all games going forward on the Series X are going to always have future support across all Xbox devices. And this is for things like not only being able to play the game, but making sure that profile data, achievements, all that stuff is permanently cemented, and it's not a thing that's going to go away because, hey, the next system came out and they decided that stuff doesn't matter anymore. And that, to me, honestly, is the most intriguing thing about this announcement. I mean, don't get me wrong, all the performance talk and everything is great, and actually seeing the system is great, but as someone who has played a lot of game systems and is kind of used to seeing next leaps happening over and over again, it's very refreshing to have this focus on the idea that, hey, just because everything's cool right now doesn't mean we're going to drop it the moment that it's not cool anymore. So that's everything they talked about at the announcement, but let's kind of take a step back and look at a little more of the implications of this. First off, let's talk about the name. So before this reveal today, there was actually some kind of hint tweets from Microsoft, which I don't think anyone read as actually being a thing that it was going to be revealed tonight. But there was some kind of hints from Microsoft of being like, hey, the official name of the next system is going to be very descriptive of what it's all about. And it's really interesting hearing that kind of pitch when the name of the system is the Xbox Series X. And the reason why I find that interesting is because it is very, very close to what we already have on current systems. I mean, Xbox Series X, Xbox One X. Everyone who pays close attention to gaming, we get that idea difference, but it's honestly, in my opinion, almost a little too dangerously close. There's kind of been this historical precedent set of when you have names that are very similar for systems, it can throw regular consumers off a little bit. I mean, just imagine little old grandma going to buy a gift for grandson and not knowing which exact Xbox to get. They just know, oh, they want the Xbox X thing? Yeah, that one. Honestly, my opinion, I get it. I think a few people are a little thrown off by how similar it is, but I think moving forward, especially because it is a significantly different looking system, and there's always the promise of the fact that it is a much more powerful one, I feel like most people are going to be able to adapt. There will certainly be some confusion, but I don't think it's necessarily a full doomsday scenario like some people are immediately reacting right now. Now, going a step further with this is the fact that it is named Series X, which when you have a name like Series, that has the implication that there are multiple. Is it something where, as time goes on, we're going to see more and more models that are just further upgrading, and like a lot of people have theorized in the past, is Xbox going fully the direction of PCs, where people are just upgrading every couple of years? Or is it an implication that at launch we're going to see more than just this one single model? One of the really heavy rumors that's been going around lately is the fact that Microsoft is going to launch not one, but two systems next year, and this is one of them. If those past rumors prove true, then the idea is that along with this Series X that we're seeing, there will also be a trimmed down smaller version, maybe something that has a similar but slightly different name like Series S, Series 1, Series something, that instead of being this large, super powerful system with 4 times the processing power of a 1X, is a more affordable, slimmer, possibly diskless version of the system that is a lot more affordable for people that don't necessarily care about 8K support or even 4K 60. As it stands, we just don't know. I think what's really interesting about this whole announcement is the fact that this is a crazy thing to reveal this far in advance, and yet there are still so many questions we have. Not only whether or not it's going to have additional models, but we know what the thing is called, we know it's going to be released, but we still don't have pricing, and that might also, again, tie into this whole idea of multiple models. They might be waiting on pricing because they want to announce, hey, yes, the Series X is going to be $500, $600. But guess what? If you don't want to spend that much, here is this other model version for $250, $300. Again, this is all based on just what a lot of people are hearing speculation and rumor-wise, but honestly, with this early of an announcement and so much time until next holiday, I feel like there's going to be a lot more for them to talk about and reveal. So revealing the Series X was not the only thing that Microsoft did at the TGAs. Right after that, they did also reveal the second officially announced game to be coming to the system, Hellblade 2. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with that title, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice was a release that came out actually originally on PS4 as an exclusive by Ninja Theory. It eventually went multi-platform, and when Microsoft announced all their studio acquisitions, Ninja Theory was one of those. It was an aesthetically beautiful game, very trippy, and the trailer for 2 implies that we're basically going to be getting that same experience all over again. But now that means that 2019, a full year in advance of the system coming out, we already know 2 games announced for it right away with Halo Infinite and Hellblade 2. It's going to be really interesting to see, of the many studios that Xbox has, I think it's at 15 now, how many more games they're going to have lined up for that system during the initial launch window. Because with 2 already officially announced, it sounds like they're really going all out to have the strongest launch possible for the Series X and not re-experience what happened with the Xbox One.